Good morning all of you. This video is basically continuation of my previously taught video. In those videos we discuss about matter, classification of matter on the basis of physical and chemical properties, and also we did detailed study of all 5 states of matter. Along with that, we discussed interconversion of different state of matters and how temperature and pressure affect state of matter that we discuss, and many other things. Now in this video, we will discuss some remaining topics of this chapter. So let's just see what they are. Topics. So our first topic for today is temperature change and measurement scale of temperature. Second topic is formula, means what are the conversion formula of measurement scale from one scale of temperature to another scale that we will discuss. Some numericals based on the temperature scale that we will discuss. Next and most important topic is evaporation and factor affecting the rate of evaporation. How evaporation cause cooling, that also we will discuss in this video. And difference between evaporation and boiling, how evaporation and boiling are different from each other, that we will discuss in this video. And at last we will discuss some miscellaneous question and answer of NCERT. So let's just start. So basically, what is temperature and what is temperature change? So temperature change is a process whereby the degree of hotness of body or any medium changes. Means whenever there is a change in the degree of hotness of any body or any medium, when we see the difference, means one medium is having another temperature and another medium is having another temperature, so that difference is known as a temperature change. Now, how many type of temperature scales are there to measure that temperature change? So basically there are 4 type of measure scales by which we can measure change of temperature. What they are? Fahrenheit scale, Celsius scale, we are using frequently. After that, we are using Kelvin scale and Rankine scale. See, in Fahrenheit or Celsius scale, we are frequently used in everyday. Celsius scale, in household we are having a thermometer to measure the temperature. And Fahrenheit scale is basically used for weather forecast. Now, after that, the Kelvin scale is considered as a standard scale of measuring of temperature change. So basically it is used in more over industries and science experiments. Similarly, Rankine is also one of the scale by which we commonly measure industrial purpose and science work or experimental work. Now, how you will understand more clearly this? Just look at here this figure. 3 scales are there: Fahrenheit scale, Celsius scale and Kelvin scale. Temperature difference is there. In this figure also, in second figure also, 4 scales are there. That is your Fahrenheit scale, Celsius scale, Kelvin scale and Rankine scale. So when you compare, so what idea you will get? After comparing all the scales, we get that in Celsius scale, by taking an example of water only, we saw that if we measure the temperature of water by Celsius scale, so we get that at 0 degree centigrade, water get freeze. Similarly, that temperature is similar in Fahrenheit scale, that is 32 Fahrenheit. And in Kelvin scale it is similar to 273.5 Kelvin, and in Rankine scale it is similar to 492 Rankine. So by this we can get this idea that at 0 degrees centigrade water get converted into form of solid, or we can say that in form of ice when we measure with Celsius scale. But when we measure with Fahrenheit scale, we saw that ki at 32 Fahrenheit water get converted into form of ice. Similarly, in case of Kelvin scale, water get converted into form of ice at 273.5 Kelvin. And when we measure the temperature at which water get converted into form of ice through Rankine scale, so the temperature is 492 Kelvin. Similarly, let's just see the difference in the boiling point temperature of all the scale of water. So when we measure the boiling point of water through Celsius scale, then what we found that at 100 degrees centigrade water get boiled. The same temperature we can say that, but when we measure with Fahrenheit scale, what we saw that at 212 Fahrenheit water get start boiling, and through Kelvin scale when we measure, then we saw that the temperature is 373.15 Kelvin. So this is the difference in the different scales of temperature when we measure, taking an example of water only. When we measure the boiling point of water through Rankine scale, then what we found that at 672 Rankine water get boiling. Means at 672 temperature of Rankine scale water start boiling up and get converted into form of vapor. Now it is very clear कि from all the scales of temperature by which we measure temperature are totally different from each other. So their values are totally different. 0 degree centigrade is equal to 32 Fahrenheit, and that 32 Fahrenheit is equal to 273.15 Kelvin, and 273.15 Kelvin is equal to 492 Rankine scale of temperature at which the water get converted into form of ice. Now similarly, at 100 degrees centigrade water start boiling. Similarly, in Fahrenheit scale that temperature is 212 Fahrenheit. In Kelvin scale it is similar to 373.1.5 Kelvin, and in Rankine scale it is 672. So by this example we understood what exactly the difference between all the four scales of temperature. So now we understood that there are four type of scales are there by which we measure temperature change, that is Fahrenheit, Celsius, Kelvin and Rankine. Kelvin is considered as standard temperature. Now let's just see the formula or how to convert one scale of temperature into another scale of temperature. Means Celsius into Fahrenheit, Fahrenheit into Celsius, Kelvin into Celsius or Fahrenheit, or combined formula. Let's just see. So conversion of formula of different temperature scales. So the first conversion is to convert Celsius scale into Kelvin scale. So the simple formula is Kelvin is equals to Celsius plus 273.15. Means this Celsius is a given temperature, or we can say that ki normal temperature which we measure in a centigrade, and we add that temperature along with the minimum unit at which the water get freeze and get converted into form of ice in Kelvin scale. That temperature we measure it. So the formula become K is equals to degree centigrade plus 273. Now the second conversion is to convert Celsius scale into Fahrenheit scale. Celsius scale equal to 5 upon 9 in bracket F minus 32. Here C is centigrade scale, F is Fahrenheit scale. So by applying this formula, we are able to convert Celsius scale into Fahrenheit scale. Suppose value of Fahrenheit scale is given to you and in question it is asked to find out the value of centigrade scale. So we will understand by this formula, and by applying this formula only we will get our Celsius scale. Now let's just see the Fahrenheit scale and the combined scale to convert one scale into another scale. So to convert Fahrenheit scale into Celsius scale is F is equals to 5 upon 9 degree centigrade plus 32. This is the formula for Fahrenheit scale to convert into Celsius scale. Means by applying this we will able to get Fahrenheit unit with the help of centigrade temperature. So in any question if centigrade value is given, or we can say that any temperature is given, for example like 25 degree centigrade or 60 degree centigrade or 70 degree centigrade. So this 25, 60, 70 we will put at the place of C and we will solve the problem by this formula only, and we are able to get our Fahrenheit scale of temperature. Now let's just see how combinedly we are able to find out the different temperature by applying one single formula. See, here the formula is written C upon 5 equals to F minus 32 upon 9, which is equal to R upon F, which is equal to K minus 273 upon 5. Means by applying this much formula we are able to find out value of C also and value of F also. Similarly, by applying this formula we are able to find out the value of F also and the value of R also. R is here Rankine scale, and similarly suppose the value of Rankine scale is given to you. So with the help of this formula you can easily find out the value of any scale of temperature. Now let's just understand all formulas with a proper problems or proper numericals. So let's just solve some numericals. By this we will understand more clearly all these formulas. So let's just start. Look at here. Here it is written Celsius Kelvin solved example 1. Means we have to convert 25 degree centigrade into Kelvin scale. So the first problem is to convert 25 degree centigrade to Kelvin scale. So what we have to do? Solution is given to you. First you will write the formula of Kelvin scale, which is K equals to T degree plus 273. Now after that you just put the value in this formula and you will get your answer. By this what happened? You likewise this only you are able to solve any problem. Now so your answer is become 298.0 Kelvin. By applying this formula we can easily convert 25 degree centigrade into Kelvin scale. Now let's just understand more examples. So our second question is Celsius Kelvin tricky question. Sometime in examination, in home examination, we are able to see some tricky question. So let's just see what kind of tricky question we are able to get. So the question is temperature on one of the planet is measured the range of 85 to 90 Kelvin. Means one planet is there where the temperature ranges between 85 to 90 Kelvin. define the temperature limit in degree Celsius. Means you have to define temperature in degree Celsius. So now let's just see the solution, how we are able to solve this problem. So this problem is get solved by, we will write the formula K is equal to C plus 273.5. After that we will apply the first case. The first case is given at 85, means 85 is the lower limit of temperature. So we will solve firstly by 85 Kelvin. So in first case what we do, when the lower limit is 85 K, then we will apply the formula. By putting the value in the formula, what we will get, the value of C is coming, that is minus 185.5. So after that what we do, we just see by applying the highest limit or the upper limit, which is your 90 Kelvin. So let's just see here. After putting, again we will apply the same formula, that is C plus 273. Now 0.15. After that when we put the value in place of K, we put 90 in. After that we will solve, then we will get the value of C is minus 183.15. So we can say that the temperature on one of the planet has temperature range between minus 183.5 to minus 188.5 degree Celsius. That is our question only. We have to convert the Kelvin scale, which is ranging between 85 to 90 Kelvin on one of the planet, into Celsius scale. So after solving we get our answer that on applying the lower range we are getting the answer minus 188.5, and on applying the upper case we will get our higher limit, that is minus 183.5. So we can say that in Celsius scale the temperature ranges on one of the planet is minus 183.5 to 188.5. Now let's just understand more examples. See, in the second example also we will convert the Celsius scale into Kelvin scale. So do the conversion of 27 degree centigrade into Kelvin scale. Very simple. We will apply the formula K is equal to C plus 273. See, in equation we are able to put 273 also, or we are able to put 273.15 also. But here we will use only 273 in order to avoid the decimal values and the complication of the calculation. So what we get, after the putting the value we get that 300. So the answer is become 300 Kelvin. Now let's just understand with fourth example. Our fourth example is we have to convert 275 Kelvin into Celsius scale. Now here just look at here, there is little bit difference in the question. Earlier in question degree centigrade is given, but now in this question degree Kelvin is given, means value of Kelvin is given. Now what we will do, we will again put the same formula, that is K is equals to C plus 273, which is written here. We are able to put 273 also or 273.15 also, whatever you people want to do. Now after that in place of K we put the value 275. Okay, then we will solve the problem and we'll get our answer, that is 102 degree centigrade. Now let's just understand with our last example, that is example 5. Here why this example is important, because here we used negative value of Celsius. So we have to convert minus 50 degree centigrade into Kelvin scale. So just see what we do. Again we will apply the formula, that is K equals to C plus 273. After that we put the value of C in that formula and then we'll get our answer, that is 223 Kelvin. By all these example might be all the things get clear that how we are able to convert Kelvin scale into Celsius scale and Celsius scale into Kelvin scale. There are many other examples also by which we are able to convert Celsius scale into Fahrenheit scale, Fahrenheit scale into Celsius scale, Fahrenheit scale into Kelvin scale by applying the formula only. These kind of question you will get in your home examination or any examination. So just try to follow, just try to solve as much question you are able to solve. Now let's just see or let's just discuss our more important or most important topic, that is evaporation. Now evaporation. Now let's just see, in this topic we will discuss about evaporation. Now we will discuss about evaporation and factor affecting the rate of evaporation. Now understand what exactly the evaporation is. Evaporation is a process in which any liquid get converted into form of vapor at any temperature. It is written here also, the change of a liquid into vapor at any temperature below its boiling point is called evaporation. Evaporation is also known as a surface phenomena, in which the particle from the surface gain enough energy to overcome the force of attraction and changes into vapor form. Now what exactly this point is, just understand. Evaporation is surface phenomena. You will understand by taking the example of sun. See, just take a one pot or container and fill some amount of water in it and just keep that container in which water is present in a presence of sunlight. After some time what you will see, the amount of water get reduced. How? This is due to evaporation. See, from top of the container sunlight is falling on water, so the upper surface of water get heated up and it just get converted into form of water. That's why it is written here, or it is also said that evaporation is surface phenomena. Now let's just understand what are the factors affecting the rate of evaporation. The rate of evaporation depend upon surface area, temperature, humidity and wind speed, and many other factors are also responsible. Now how surface area affect the rate of evaporation? Increase in the surface area increases the rate of evaporation. How we will understand? Just take a 1 cup of tea and 1 plate. Just transfer some amount of tea into plate and leave some amount of tea into your cup only, or then after some time you will observe that the tea present in a cup is remain hot, but the tea present in a plate it just get cold. Why it happens so? Because when some amount of tea come in contact with plate, their surface area get expanded and more particles of tea come in a contact in a larger surface area, and when it come in a contact with atmosphere, more particles loses its energy and it just get evaporated, which increases the rate of evaporation. Similarly, increase in temperature also increases the rate of evaporation. That we all know. Whenever the temperature is very high, the rate of evaporation is also high. The more particles are getting the more energy and the rate of evaporation increases. Increase in humidity decreases the rate of evaporation. Now first understand what is humidity. Humidity means the amount of water vapor present in our atmosphere. That atmosphere is known as humid atmosphere, and that process is known as humidity. Just like your rainy days. Understand, in rainy days what happened? Our atmosphere is having so much of water vapor present in the atmosphere. That's why the temperature is down during those time. So that time the rate of evaporation is very low. That we observed also for when we used to dry our clothes. It take so much of time during rainy days. Why? Because that time the temperature is very low in our atmosphere. High amount of water molecules are present, which decreases the temperature and decreases the rate of evaporation also. So we can say that the increase in humidity decreases the rate of evaporation. Now last is increase in the wind speed increases the rate of evaporation. That also we are always using our day-to-day life. See, whenever there is a very windy day, means very high speed of wind is blowing, that time the rate of evaporation is very high. By taking one example only, you will understand. See, whenever we wash our clothes during night, we used to keep under fan. So in morning that clothes get dry. So how it happened? It happened due to the evaporation process. Whenever fan runs, the speed of wind get increases, and the more amount of water present on clothes, it just get evaporated and our cloth become dry. Now let's just understand by this figure only. Just see this figure. You will understand one container is here and the water is filled. So whenever sunlight fall or any external energy is given, then what happened? The molecules or the particles present on the surface, they get energy and get converted into form of vapor. So high energy evaporating, medium energy pulled back into the water, and lower energy remain as a liquid. Means when the energy is very high, evaporation process is started. When the energy is medium, some of the particles get evaporated and some are remain in the container, but the energy is lower, then it remain as a liquid only. Let's just understand this phenomena with figure more clearly. Now by this figure only you will understand. Here evaporation process is shown. Particles of water is moving in a vapor form. So by this we understood what exactly evaporation is and what are the factors affecting the rate of evaporation. Now let's just discuss difference between evaporation and boiling. See, both the processes are converting water into water vapor form, but what exactly the difference in both of them? Let's just see. Before that, we will see some example of evaporation in which evaporation cause cooling. So there are many conditions in which evaporation cause cooling effect. For example, might we observe that whenever we use perfume, immediately it just get dry. If we use ice, if we keep ice on our palm, we feel cold. So why we feel so? So this is due to the evaporation, because evaporation cause cooling effect. How? Many times, see, whenever now in summer days we are using air conditioner, desert cooler, and we feel cold. The temperature of whenever we on the air conditioner or cooler, the temperature of our room get down and we feel cold. So why is it so? It is because of evaporation cause cooling. Now let's just see When a liquid evaporates, the particle of liquid absorb heat from the surrounding and evaporate. So the surrounding become cold. The main reason of cooling is that whenever liquid evaporate, the particles of liquid absorb energy from the surrounding only, and that's why the temperature of surrounding get drop down. That's why we feel cold. That's why whenever we take acetone or ice on our palm, immediately we feel cold, because the particles of liquid which is present in that substance, it acquired the energy from our palm, and because of that, what happened, the temperature of our palm get down and we feel cold. Now just take one example. People sprinkle water on the roof or open ground, because during evaporation water absorbs heat and makes the hot surface cool. We used to sprinkle water on our ground, on our roof, to make the surface cool. The same phenomena will happen. The liquid particle absorb the temperature from the surrounding and drop down the temperature of that particular area, and that area become cool. Now during summer we wet more, because during evaporation the sweat absorb heat from our body and make our body cool. That also we are knowing during summer we are sweating a lot. So why is it so? Whatever the water we are drinking, what happened, it is present in our skin. So in that time what will happen, that it absorb energy from the surrounding and water molecule get evaporated by the evaporation process and we feel cold. You will understand like this ki if you sit under the fan, you feel cold. Why? Because the water droplets present on our skin, it come in a contact with the wind present in our room. So whenever fan runs, the water particles come in contact with the wind and it rotate very fastly. Due to that, the kinetic energy get increases and the water droplets get converted into form of vapor and we feel cold. Now next example is that wearing cotton clothes in summer keeps us cool, because cotton absorbs sweat, and when the sweat evaporates, it absorbs heat from our body and making our body cool. So these are the example we usually saw in our day-to-day life. In summer days we are wearing cotton clothes. Why? Because it absorbs sweat, and that sweat get evaporated, and in order to make them evaporate, that our clothes body is taking energy from our body, and that's why our body feel cold. See, similarly how evaporation work in desert cooler. One very important question is there, that why desert cooler cause better cooling into hot dry days? The main reason of that, the warm air come in contact with the husk present in that cooler. After that, what happen? It just get filtered through a pump. In pump, water is running. The warm air come in contact with the running chilled water, and because of that, the temperature get dropped down, and with the fan, it just get spread in our room and we feel cold. Now let's just understand more clearly with the help of the difference between evaporation and boiling. So till now we discussed how evaporation cause cooling. Why evaporation cause cooling? Because during the evaporation process, the particles of liquid absorb the energy from surrounding and drop down the temperature. That's how it cause cooling. Some examples also we discussed. Now let's just see difference between evaporation and boiling. So the first difference between evaporation and boiling is, see, evaporation is a process of vaporization of liquid at room temperature or any temperature. In simple language, we can say that evaporation is a process which takes place at any temperature, but boiling is a process of evaporation. Means boiling is a one of the example of evaporation which takes place at particular temperature. Evaporation takes place at any temperature, that we already discussed. Boiling takes place at particular temperature. Evaporation takes place mainly at the surface of liquid, or we can say that evaporation is a surface phenomena and boiling is a bulk phenomena. Boiling takes place in whole of the liquid. When evaporation takes place, the temperature of the liquid body decreases. That we all know कि whenever there is a conversion of water vapor, there is a conversion of water into water vapor form, then immediately liquid body decreases its temperature. But the temperature remain constant throughout the process of boiling is the phenomena of boiling. Means in boiling, the temperature remain constant throughout the process of boiling. Last topic is evaporation takes place as long as the air above the liquid remain unsaturated. Means evaporation takes place at any place and it will continue, or we can say that evaporation is a continuous process, but boiling is not a continuous process. It is a limited process. Whenever we apply condition, then only boiling takes place, but evaporation takes place at anywhere. Boiling takes place when the internal liquid pressure is equal to the external liquid pressure. Means when we apply the condition, then only boiling takes place, but evaporation takes place anywhere. So these are the differences between by which we will understand that what is evaporation and what is boiling process. Now let's just understand by figure only. See, all of you are seeing one beaker here and one more beaker here. So in evaporation, process takes place only on surface, but boiling process takes place in all over the liquid. So this is all about the difference between evaporation and boiling. Now let's just see some questions which is very important for exam point of view, and it is also given in your NCERT book. So let's just start. Many type of question you will get in your books. So let's just discuss some question. So the first question is, a rubber band can change itself on stretching. Will you classify it as a solid or not? Justify. Means whenever we stretch rubber band, it just easily get stretched. So being a solid, how it is possible? Because in characteristic of solid, we studied that solid is rigid in nature, it is hard in nature, then how it is stretchable? So the answer is that the rubber band changes shape under force and regain the shape when the force is removed. So it is classified as a solid, or we can say that it is one of the exception of solid. Now next question is that sponge, though compressible, it is a solid. Means sponge which we are using it, they are compressible in nature, then sponge also consider as a solid? Yes, it is true. We will able to consider sponge as a solid because in sponge small pores are present. So what happen in these pores? Air get trapped and it acquire the shape. Whenever we compress, what happened? The air comes out and sponge get compressed. So sponge is also exception of solid. Let's just see the clear answer. Sponge has minute holes in which air is trapped. When we press it, the air expelled out and we are able to compress it. On releasing pressure, it again regain its shape. So it is classified as solid. Third question, gases completely fill the vessels in which they are kept. Give reason. Why? The reason of this question is that only one. Because in the particles of gases there is a huge intermolecular space and the force of attraction working between them is just negligible. So the particles of gases are free to move anywhere. So whenever we fill any gas in any container, it completely filled it because particles are moving randomly and they are free from each other. So let's just see. In gaseous state, the particles move freely and have greater space between them. So they occupy entire space available. Hence, the gases completely fill the vessels in which they are kept. Now, let's just see fourth question. Under what condition gases can be liquefied? In which form LPG is filled in gas cylinder? We all are seeing LPG cylinder in our houses. Then in what condition these gases are get liquefied? That we also studied also. Whenever we applied the pressure, what happened? The particles come closer to each other and due to that pressure the temperature goes down because we know that T is inversely proportional to P. So whenever temperature is high, pressure is low. Whenever pressure is high, temperature is low. So on increasing the pressure, the temperature goes down and the gases get liquefied and it just get filled in any gas cylinder in form of liquid. So by applying pressure and reducing temperature, gases can be liquefied and the liquefied petroleum gas is filled in gas cylinders in the compressed gas form. Means we compress the gas and then we filled in gas cylinder. Now let's just see some more questions. See, one more question is there. Liquid generally have lower density as compared to solid, but ice float on water. Find out why. This question is very, very important. See, being a solid, why ice float on water? Liquids and gases are having lower density than the water. That we know that the substance which is having higher density, it you can say that dropped whenever we drop down in water, it completely immersed in water. Then why it is not possible in case of ice? So the main reason of that ice and the water are both same substance, but ice has greater volume than the water of the same. So as density is inversely proportional to volume, ice is less denser than the water. Object having density less than the water float on the surface of water. Now understand. See, basically the volume of ice is higher than the volume of same water. Why is it so? As we know that D is equals to M upon V. Whenever volume is high, density get lower down, and whenever density get high, volume is get lower down. So in case of ice, the volume is higher, so the density become lower. That's why the ice float on water, because ice is having lower density than the water. This is the main reason. One more reason is there, that ice is having tetrahedral structure. In tetrahedral structure, vacant space is there, which make empty space present inside ice, and which make density lower. And that's why ice are having lower density than the water and float over the surface of water. Next question is, what is dry ice? That we discuss also. Dry ice is basically solid carbon dioxide gas. When we compress carbon dioxide gas, it just get converted into form of ice, and it is ice. We know that it is solid, so we called it as a dry ice. So we can say that that solid carbon dioxide is known as dry ice. Here 2 times CO2 is written. It's not that it is wrong. Only solid carbon dioxide is known as dry ice. Now let's just discuss some more questions. One more important question is explain why temperature remain constant during interconversion of state of matter. That also we discuss. This interconversion state of matter, the temperature remain constant due to its very specific characteristic, that is latent heat. Because of the presence of latent heat, the rise in temperature is get restricted during interconversion of state of matter. Now let's just understand, heat applied to a substance is getting used during the changing its state to overcome the force of attraction working between the particle. The excess heat is absorbed by the particle in a form of latent heat. That I already told you. That because of the latent heat, the resistance of increase in temperature is there. What is latent heat? The amount of energy is required to change the state of matter without increasing the temperature and without showing rise in the temperature. That only we discuss here. Heat supplied to a substance is getting used during changing its state to overcome the force of attraction between the particle. Means whenever any heat is supplied to any substance, it get used by using the overall heat to overcome the force of attraction working between the particle, and that excess heat is known as a latent heat. Next question is give reason to explain why it takes longer time to dry wet clothes in humid weather. That we already know that the rate of evaporation depend on humidity present in air. Humid air has already large amount of vapor, so the rate of evaporation get slower. That we already discussed in our explanation part of evaporation topic. Now let's discuss next question. Why should we wear cotton clothes during summer? That we also know that in during summer season we used to wear cotton clothes because cotton clothes absorb the sweat and it's a good absorber of water. So it absorbs sweat and exhales it for easy evaporation. As a result, the body feels cool and comfortable. So we should wear cotton clothes during summer. Simple reason is there that during summer season we used to wear cotton clothes because cotton are good absorber of water, and immediately when cotton clothes absorb the sweat get evaporated when it comes in contact with our surrounding, and that energy which is required to get evaporate is taken from the surrounding, is taken from the basically from our body, and we feel cold. That's why we used to wear cotton clothes during summer season. Now let's just discuss 2 more questions about this chapter. 10th question is why does a desert cooler cool better on hot dry days? That also we discuss. See, the humidity, that is the amount of water vapor in air is less on hot dry days. Definitely humidity is what? The amount of water vapor present in our surrounding, and during hot dry days what happen? The temperature is very high, pressure is very low, so the amount of water vapor is also get lesser in our environment. So lesser the humidity, more the rate of evaporation, because H is inversely proportional to evaporation. So whenever the rate of evaporation get higher, humidity is lesser. Whenever the lesser humidity is there, then evaporation is higher. Since the rate of evaporation is more on hot dry days, a desert cooler cause better cooling. The best explanation of this question. Now the question and our last question is why do people sprinkle water on the roof after a hot sunny day? Because of the evaporation, means because it make our roof cooler. When we sprinkle water on our roof, what happen? The water droplets take energy from the roof and get evaporated, so the temperature of the roof get dropped down and it make it cooler. Now just see, after a hot sunny day, people sprinkle water on the roof or open ground because the large latent heat of vaporization of water help to cool the surface, that we already discussed. Water takes away the heat from the ground and give cooling effect. How evaporation cause cooling, that also we discuss. Now up to this we discuss almost 11 questions. Likewise this you will have many more questions, and these questions are most important question you will see in your examination. Only these types of question are going to ask. From this topic our chapter is over. So for till now you people just stay at your home, be happy and healthy. Thank you.